to another edition of Top Virtual Staffing Solutions Virtual Town Hall session. And today we have a really solid speaker with Tom Strausser in terms of discussing simplifying cybersecurity. And Tom is working with CISCO, and if you know CISCO, you are talking to the right people. So there's no other way to introduce this. And with that, the reason why we're having this virtual town hall is because we're helping out the age-friendly initiative that we have here in our local community, in our county. And one of the issues that they have raised are for people that, for the individuals that came before us may have concerns of using technology. And come to think of it, as you guys can see here, we have the younger generation here as well. It's for everyone. Cybersecurity is something that is very critical that all of us need to be aware of, because unfortunately, there are people who will take advantage of things. And so one way to be smart about it is to go ahead and listen to people like Tom. Tom, hello there.
Hello, how are you?
I am well, thank you. And you, I know before recording, you shared some stuff, so I don't know if you're comfortable sharing it here, no pressure. But
Yeah, no, we were just talking about, I've been at CISCO for, would be 20 years in October, and I have elected to take an early retirement. So I'm going to take a couple of months off, recharge, kind of take a vacation, and then I'll be back in the workforce somewhere. Not sure where. I might be working at a gas station, or I might be who knows, cutting grass. But I'll be doing something. So.
Well, with all due respect to people working at the gas station or cutting grass, I guess you are a little bit overqualified with that. But hey, to each one's own.
Hey, my son-in-law runs a lawn service, and he makes about as much money as I do. So
there you go. Okay. All right, your son-in-law. Okay, have fun with that. Good luck. But in all seriousness, congratulations on that note, and we wish you the best. And this is a great gift for us of you spending time with us here to discuss cybersecurity in the most, in the simplest way, in the most basic way.
Okay.
So, care to share?
Yeah. Am I able to share my screen now, or?
Oh, yes. If you do want to share your screen, give me a few seconds here, and I will actually give you control as well.
Sounds good.
All right. You got control, and let me stop my sharing.
But anyway, so about myself, I think I might have already told you, I've been at CISCO for 20 years. And before that, I was a consultant. Did mostly Y2K consulting work. We all remember how crazy that was. I mean, some of us might, but might not, depending on your age. But I know it was crazy for me, and I was gainfully employed for about 3 years remediation. So that was fun. And then it turned out to be a big nothing burger. But maybe it's because we all did the right thing and fixed what had to be fixed. But prior to that, I worked for Bank of America as a network manager for their network services and support for 4 different data centers. So I've been in IT for about 35 years. So recently, in about the last 5 years, is when I started getting serious about cybersecurity. And it's one of the best and fastest growing fields in the industry today. So if you're gonna, if you have folks asking about what they might look to study or what field they might want to get into between security and programmability, those are probably the 2 hottest in the IT industry right now. And why is security so hot? Because there's lots of people that want what we've got. Whether or not you're an individual or if you're a corporation, We all go through the same challenges to keep our information safe. We find in most customer environments, the user is the biggest risk to security. So we have to train our users that these are things that you should not do, but users are users. So users are going to get that one link that they're going to think is legitimate or whatever, and they're going to click that link, and then they're going to be compromised. So in the back end, you have to have things in place so that if that does happen, you can either segment it and remediate it, and also understand where it went and what it did. So what is a tip that if somebody asked you to give them a good tip? And a buddy of mine would always, when the bill came and we would talk about what the tip is that we should relieve, he would say, I got a tip. Look both ways before you cross the street. Sounds pretty easy, but if you think about that, how many different ways are there to cross a street? And how and where should you cross the street? So obviously, in a busy area, or any area for that matter, you should always look for a crosswalk, right? So that's a level of safety. That crosswalk hopefully has, your little button up here that you press and you wait for the walk sign. But before you walk out into that intersection, what else should you do? You should make sure that there's not somebody, maybe in the security scenario, somebody that's disobeying the laws, and they run that light and you get run over. So there's a lot of common sense around security, just like there is in life. And some people have more common sense than others. But if we try to take a little bit of a look at it from that approach, that, hey, these tools are here, these devices, these applications are here to make our lives easier. I don't always agree with some of the apps that are out there and some of the things that we use to interact, but they're here to stay. And everybody has a different view and opinion and different tools they like to use. You might use Facebook, you might use Twitter, you might use, for music, you've got Spotify, you've got all kinds of different applications and all that you're using. So let's just use a little bit of common sense before we dive into anything. So let me try to minimize that a little bit. So the first thing is, don't be naive. Not necessarily is somebody out there actively trying to get your information, but there are people that are trying to get your information. Now, there's two types of, and we'll talk about phishing attacks, but there's targeted, and then there's just bulk force or bulk random or whatever you want to call it. So if I get enough people to click on this link and get enough people to be able to get their credit card numbers or whatever it is that they're looking for, their social security numbers, and then they are getting them in such quantity that they can sell them to somebody that has bad intentions for that information, they may only make 25 cents per credit card number. But if you compromise 1 million credit cards, well, 25% at a million, that adds up. So it may not be that they're looking at you for any particular reason, but they're just out there, they're trolling. Where might I get a bite? So cybersecurity is all of our responsibility. So the big thing is just think before you click. We can't just crawl up into a hole somewhere, or hide in the closet or under the bed, because we've got to use these devices, especially in today's environment with the pandemic that's going. More and more people are being forced to communicate remotely. Depending on where you're at and where you live, some places are open a little more than others, and some are completely locked down. So we have to learn how to do this responsibly. All right, let me see if I can get it to go. So steps to remember, some basic steps. I actually learned some stuff myself, because I was like, okay, if I were trying to think of things to remember, and like I said, I've been in this industry for a long time. A lot of times I just take things for granted. That, okay, I'm on a corporate network because I work from the house most of the time. I have a corporate laptop, I have a corporate router, I have corporate Wi-Fi access, but I still go out to the store. I still go out to the library. I still go to church. I still go wherever I might go, and I still have a personal device. But I tended to take things for granted. So I went out and I watched some YouTube videos to see what folks are saying out there on YouTube. And I would encourage you, if you're looking for more information, go to YouTube, look it up, and just watch some of the short videos. They got 2 to 5 minute videos that you can view, and kind of makes you think about things that you might not have thought of. So, as I was pulling this together, I watched a number of videos. Just, what am I missing? What is it that I, to myself, think is obvious, but somebody else may not be? So I tried to pull together some things that should be fairly obvious, but maybe you don't think about it. Now, the one thing that I want to point out is I'm going to go through a lot of stuff, and I'll be happy to share these slides. And I've only got, I think, 11 or 12 slides, so it's not death by PowerPoint. But some of this stuff may sound complicated. So what I would certainly advise you to do is, if you are not not technically savvy on some of this stuff, is maybe find somebody that can help you. They do provide services and things like that and again, YouTube is a great way for looking a lot of this stuff up. And don't be afraid to go out to YouTube, because YouTube is probably one of the most used applications out there. And I haven't heard of anything really crazy going on with YouTube, as long as you follow some of these basic steps. But some of the things, staying up to date. If you are like, and I have a tendency to do this myself, especially with my phone, I'll get a notification that there's a new iOS update, a software update out there that needs to be downloaded. And it never fails when I download a new update. I have an iPhone, and when I update it, it goes and does things that I didn't want it to do, like turns on things that I had turned off prior to that. So I am hesitant to do that. But you have to be diligent with that. You have to have a process. We call, a security practice policy for corporations. You have to have a security practice policy for yourself, although it's not going to be as robust as a corporation would have. But you have to have kind of a checklist. Okay, I'm going to update my operating system. Last time I did that, it turned back on CarPlay. I hate CarPlay. I want to go turn it off. Or it turned on location services. Well, I don't want my location services turned on unless I want to allow that. So you have to kind of have a checklist, but it is a good idea for your operating systems and your browsers, such as Firefox or Chrome, depending on which ones you use. Do auto updates, or at least with your browsers, have it so that they do frequent updates. And I know it can get aggravating because it seems like there's an update all the time, but the reasons that they're updating that is a lot of times is for security stuff. So you want to make sure that you're keeping up to date with your anything that has to be updated. A lot of browsers use plugins such as Java, Flash, or Adobe. There are another thing that's going to prompt you for an update quite often, and I would certainly update that. These plugin browsers are becoming less and less used today. They're being replaced with some other types of plugins that are more native to the browsers themselves. But it is very important for you to keep those updated as well, because there have been a number of security vulnerabilities in like Java or maybe Flash. So it's very important to keep those updated. And on your smart devices, if you have an iPad or a smartphone of some sort, check every once in a while, go into your apps, your settings, look at apps, and it'll show you which apps need to be updated. It probably, for me anyway, I don't do auto update on most of my apps. So go in and check and make sure that any apps that you're using, you update them. It also gives you a good opportunity to say, I'm really not using that app. I don't know why I have that app. So you can delete those apps at the same time. So try to keep your devices clean. Don't keep, don't get them clustered if possible. So if you're not using apps for something, get rid of them. You can always reload them. So if you do find a need to do that. So you want to protect your devices. I said computer here, but it's any kind of device. And typically with laptops or desktops, you have antivirus or anti-spyware software. And the reason that you want to do these, and again, I'm trying to keep this pretty simple. So, okay, so like I said, you want to keep your systems protected, and there's applications and software that help you do that. Antivirus software and anti-spyware software are probably a must. At a minimum, antivirus software for your device, because what antivirus vendors do is they monitor threats in the internet, and as they notice new threats, so you get a malware that comes out, and it's really bad virus or maybe malware, and they find signatures for these threats, and they write signatures, and then it helps prevent those threats from getting on your devices. So in a nutshell, just remember that if you're going to have a laptop or a computer of some sort, you want to have antivirus software. Now, as part of that, most of those antivirus softwares or anti-spyware softwares, they come with a built-in personal firewall. So if I was in a corporation, I would have probably, and well, nowadays a lot of them's moving to virtual firewalls, but you would have some sort of hardware firewall or a virtual firewall that is segmenting your network. So on your end device, and again, you may need help setting some of this stuff up, but on your personal device, you basically say that these files are only available for me to use, or somebody else to use, or be visible from these people, or this address, or whatever it is. So that gives you a way that if for some reason you do get something in your network or in your device, you'll be able to firewall or segment that your personal information. And one thing, and I know there's another slide, but you can't see them anyway, so I apologize, but you want to keep as little personal information as possible on your devices. And that's not saying that you can't have files and pictures and things and but if you don't need to keep your tax returns on your computer, don't keep your tax returns on your computer. So just kind of think about things that you wouldn't want somebody to see unless you wanted them to see, and where you keep those. And if you have to have it backed up to a hard drive, back it up to a hard drive, and then when you need it, use it off the hard drive, and then just disconnect the hard drive from the computer so that folks can't get to that information. And then there's security settings. Within each operating system, there's security settings similar to a personal firewall. And you should be able to go in and customize those from extremely secure to, I don't have anything on my computer, so to, wide open. But usually somewhere right in the middle is a good setting. So what is phishing? Okay, so there's two types of phishing. And what phishing is when somebody is trying to either, like I was talking about at the beginning of this presentation, where they are trying to gather information either via bulk, or if they have some specific information that they're trying to gather from an individual or from a corporation. So let's take spear phishing, because you probably won't see this very often, but certainly be cognizant of it, because a lot of times you may get a phone call, and you've probably seen the commercials where somebody calls and asks for your Medicare number or your credit card number or your social, because there's a problem with your account and they're going to help you fix it. Don't ever do that. If you're having a problem with something that if you have an account that you need to find the phone number for that company, and you call them directly. You do not have somebody call you and you give them that information. So just kind of remember that. But spear phishing, say I'm a corporation and I'm about to release the greatest thing, the new vaccine for coronavirus, and I've got to jump on the competition, and my stock is going to go through the roof. Well, spear phishing. Okay, I've got a profile on LinkedIn. I've got a profile on Facebook. I've got a profile on, you name it, whatever it might be. You've got people that are out there, and their sole job is to find out as much intelligence about an individual. Typically, it's an individual that works for a company that they are trying to get information from. So if they can get enough information about an individual, maybe, their kids' names or this or whatever, there's ways for them to be able to spoof an email address, and a lot of times when you're being spear phished or phished in general, you may think you're looking at an email address or a link for a site that is what you are expecting, but oftentimes they've misspelled the email address by one character, or instead of a I, they've added a 1 into that string. So it looks very legit, but they can get you by thinking that it's a legit, especially in a spear phishing campaign where they're trying to get specific information from a specific individual. If they have enough information, they can send, say, an email to accounts payable or whoever it is, saying, okay, we're releasing this purchase order for this $500,000 product, and here's where I want you to wire them funds. Well, if it looks legitimate enough, they a lot of times will fall for that. Same thing with just basic phishing. If it looks legit enough, you may fall for it. Our company does phishing campaigns. We have a product that will allow you to do phishing emails and just test your folks at your company to see how many people click on it. And because I'm in security, I'm pretty wary about emails that I get. But I got caught last Christmas maybe. I got a phishing email, and it says your package has been delayed, and I think it might have been something for my wife for Christmas. So I went to click on the link to track where the package was, and I got the haha, you've been phished. So it's not hard to get phished, but just if you're not expecting something from somebody and you're in communication with them, be very wary. about clicking on links, unsolicited requests for personal information. You know, if they use the phone, they could ask you or text you for social networking. They can get you. So, but most often it's going to be either a phone call or an email. And I know texts are starting to get a lot more prevalent because a lot of people ignore phone calls today because we get so many robocalls and, you know, marketing calls and things like that. So just be wary of phishing. Be careful what you click on. The next tip is strong passwords. Okay, so I don't know how many people in the past that I've known have one password for everything, and they tape that password onto the bottom side of their computer so they don't forget it. Well, and oftentimes the password is their cat's name or their date of birth or, heaven forbid, their social security number. You know, so it's something that they can remember easy. Well, if it's easy for you to remember, there's algorithms and software that hackers can use to crack an easy password in seconds. So don't use an easy password. In most places that you log into now, they do require you to use hard passwords. They'll say, hey, you have to have one capital letter, you have to use at least one lowercase, you've got to use some sort of symbols, whether it's the splat sign or the amper symbol, or you've got to use numbers, you've got to be uppercase, lowercase, like I said. So they're making it easier, but those rules don't apply necessarily to your personal devices. So on your personal devices, make sure you're using the same type of standards that you would use to log into your bank. So when you log into your bank's probably got a password that it's at least 8 characters long, and they're requiring all those random characters to get in. Don't use the same password for everything that you access. If one gets compromised, most times your user ID across the board is going to be the same for everything. You know, and you know, some cases it won't be, but a lot of times it's your email address and then your password. So don't use the same password. So how do you keep up with all that? And again, I can't really recommend anything as far as software or programs, but there's password management programs that you can get that will help you with maintaining your passwords. For home devices, you know, this is not necessarily communicating, but it's very important because everything, they call them the Internet of Things. And if you haven't heard that before, basically that's all the smart devices that are living in your house. So, you know, you may have the talk to devices. Hey, call, you know, so and so, or, you know, turn on the lights. Well, how do you turn on the lights? Well, that's a smart device. Your smart TV is a smart device. Your home Wi-Fi is a smart device. So the point here is if it has an IP address, which is how the internet communicates, and it's a smart device, it's connected to the internet somehow for you to be able to connect to it. So just do not use default passwords. When you get something in and you turn on your new TV or your new I don't know, whatever it is, there's also your cameras that you're using for video to make sure the bad guys don't get in. Well, the bad guys can be getting in through your camera. So change the passwords from default, because do a little bit of research before you buy these devices too. Just go online and say, how many complaints have there been against these devices? So if you're thinking about getting a surveillance system or whatever for your house, go online and look. Hey, how many complaints and what are the complaints? How long has the company been in business? You know, things like that. So, you know, just just again, use a little bit of common sense, I like to say, but you know, that's something that like I was saying, I take for granted. And you know, I've been doing it for so long, but I remember years and years and years ago, before I had good internet access or any internet access on my phone, I had a wireless card in my laptop, and I did a lot of traveling. I cover 6 states here in the South, and I would have to get something done. So I would pull in a parking lot, and I would look for an open, we call them an SSID, which is the access name to a wireless device, a Wi-Fi device. And if it was open, I'd log on to their network. And I shouldn't be recording this, but I'd log on to their network and I'd get my work done using their internet. So, you know, it's amazing how often I still see, because when I turn on my wireless, and it's getting harder and harder, because, you know, if you're not sure with some of this stuff, which I want to make sure, your providers like AT&T, Verizon, you know, Comcast, whoever it might be, they will help. That's a good resource for you to be to use. But what I was going to say is I still notice SSIDs that are out there that have absolutely no password, that are wide open. And that's for you to remember also when you're out, if you go to a Starbucks or you go somewhere and you connect to their internet, you may be open because their internet is open. Again, I don't mean to scare you, but just be cognizant of that and have those strong passwords. You know, that's why you want to have antivirus software. There's also things called anti-access software. That's not probably the right name, but it's not just looking for viruses, it's looking for malware and things like that. So there are software packages out there to protect you. If you were in a corporate environment, you would launch a VPN. So again, have your providers, talk to your providers about stuff like that. They may be able to help you with some of your options for staying safe. So when you have to download something, okay, you absolutely have to get this new application, okay, on your smart device. Go to the trusted application stores on your device. You know, whether it's Android or whether it's an iPhone, you have the application sites. Unless you know for sure that this app that you're downloading from some other site is secure, be very wary about downloading it. Again, you'll do a little bit of research on it if you're not sure, but the majority of the time, make sure that you're getting it for your smart devices off of your their Apple site or their Android site. And only use trusted sites to download applications. So if you're in almost the majority of applications and traffic today on the internet is encrypted traffic, well, that's great. That means that the bad guys can't see what's encrypted in your data. And for it's a good and a bad, and I'll tell you in a second why. But if you don't see an HTTPS at the beginning of your URL string or a lock symbol, it is not a secure connection with their site. So certainly if you're going to download something or upload something and all you see is HTTP and it doesn't have the S or it doesn't have the lock symbol, don't do it. That's all I can say there. Now, the downside to that, okay, it's great, it's encrypted, and this is more for a security customer or a corporation, is that because everything's encrypted, we can't see into the encrypted traffic. What we have to do is we have to unlock that encrypted traffic. So we have to have something in a corporate network that unlocks that traffic through a certificate so that we can investigate what's in it before we allow it to go into the rest of our network. So encryption's great, but it does pose some challenges from a security perspective, especially in the corporate environments where we're having to unencrypt and then re-encrypt that traffic to the user. So, you know, consider browser plugins that prevent auto downloads. So again, like I said, it's good to keep all your stuff updated, but if you've got a browser plugin or a browser that doesn't prevent auto downloads of plugin content, a lot of bad guys can hide malware and viruses and things like that into your plugin content. So just when you're using browsers, and I had a couple of them listed on one of the first slides that you will get, but you know, make sure those browsers are ones that get auto updates all the time, so that that we're preventing a lot of this stuff. So you know, Firefox or Chrome or a Safari, or you know, one of those well-known browsers use. And again, I can't say anything negative about any of the browsers, but there is one made by Microsoft that probably I wouldn't use as often as these others. So, and a lot of that's not necessarily security. It's just the way it works. So again, some common sense here. Don't leave devices unattended. If you are in a location where there's other people and you have to go to the bathroom or whatever, do not get up, walk away. Preferably take your device with you, but don't, if you walk away from your device, and we like to play tricks on each other at work sometimes, where somebody will get up, they walk away, and they don't log off of their machine. Well, we'll get them their email and we'll send a crazy little email to the CEO, and you know, then we'll all laugh about it. But you do that in an environment where somebody's trying to get some information from you, it's a bad move. So make sure that you log off of your device. You know, even if you're in a library or whatever, and you're using a public device, don't leave them logged on when you leave. Make sure you shut them down, but certainly don't leave your mobile device or your computer logged on and walk away. And like I said, preferably don't leave it there anyway. You don't want somebody to steal it. You know, when you're done with your device, you know, if you can, power it off. You know, there's no reason to, you know, it'll save you electricity. And you know, if it's not powered on, they can't get to it. Again, make sure you're using password protection. You know, it's getting easier and easier where you don't even have to remember your password now. You can use fingerprints to log in. You know, most devices now, smart devices, give you the option to use your fingerprint to log in. But you know, just treat that stuff like it's your purse or your wallet, you know, money or credit card. Just don't leave it, you know, accessible for somebody to get to. Don't leave it unattended at all. Probably one of the most important things you can do, and all of that's important, but God forbid somebody compromises your device. What do, right? So you've probably heard of ransomware. You know, okay, so, you know, they might get, I don't know, they may ask you for, hey, give me $100 of Bitcoin, depending on who you are and what they're after, right? Because I've compromised your data. That ransomware is where they encrypt the data on your computer, and then you have to pay them to get the key to decrypt that data. So, you know, if it's, if you don't have anything important, you just say, what the heck, I'm not paying you, I'll just rebuild my computer. But what if you got all your pictures on your computer, and you've been, years and years and years of pictures, and you've got all kinds of memories, or maybe you do have personal information on that device that you really need. Make sure you back it up. Back it up and keep current on your backups. Because if it does happen, that's the only way to restore your data. And like I said earlier, if you have to keep very personal information, maybe put it on a hard drive that you use to back up your data. Don't keep it on your Mac. But very important, keep a schedule with that. With my Macintosh, I have an application called Time Machine, and then all I have to do is plug in my hard drive, and then it automatically backs up my data. So maybe look for something that does auto backup. So when you plug in your hard drive, it backs up your data for you. Because if you do get compromised, or if you do get a virus, or you get malware or something like that, that just where you're going to have to rebuild your computer, most times you're going to lose your information and your data. And again, this may be my last bullet: strong passwords. I can't overemphasize that. Like I said, I don't know how many times I've heard stories of somebody that has used the same password for their banking account, for their stock account, for their, whatever, LinkedIn account, their Twitter account. They use the same password for anything, everything. And that's extremely, in the corporate world, it's extremely hard too, because a lot of times we're using our personal devices today to do company business. And if they break my device, personal device, and they're into it, then they potentially have access to all the corporate information as well, because now they have a trusted device. And there's ways around that. We call it, multi-factor authentication, where it's basically zero trust of everything. So we have multiple layers of being able to log into accounts and whatnot. So generally speaking, if you're enacting that, and a lot of corporations are still adopting that, but it's, a lot of people use, hey, log on with LinkedIn or log on with Facebook. Well, that's called XAuth. And X authentication, oftentimes when you say, yes, log in with that, there's also other questions. How many of you actually read the terms and agreements of things when you accept? I mean, they make them like 10 pages long. So I know a lot of it doesn't get read. But a lot of times when they're asking you to allow you to log on with Facebook, I'm just using Facebook as an example. It's probably a bad example because they'll probably come want to sue me for everything that I don't have. But anything, and say, well, can we have access to? And what these social media companies do a lot of time is they sell your information. That's how they make money. So can we have access to your email, addresses? Can we have access to your contacts? Can we have access? And you're not reading it, so you just say yes. So it can be scary. So again, use very strong passwords. And I'm not saying don't use LinkedIn or Facebook to log into stuff. It's more for corporations, but just be cognizant if you do use that, make sure you read the read the terms and conditions, because it'll give you you can opt out a lot of times what it can share. And if it doesn't give you the option to opt out, don't do it. So that was kind of a side thing, but when I put, strong passwords at the end, so I would remind myself to reemphasize that. And with that, I'm done. So I don't know if we want to take some questions. I know we've got, I guess, about 10 minutes left maybe, but I don't know, Manuel, however you want to handle it, I'm good.
Yes. Well, first, thank you again for doing this. And obviously on my end, majority of the things that you've identified are things that I myself am familiar with. So I feel confident with that. But there are other things wherein, oh yes, I need to go ahead and make sure I do X, Y, and Z. And those X, Y, and Z, for example, in terms of the apps on the phones, yeah, I just update them all because I don't want to filter, but you go and realize, you know what, if you're not using it, just take it away. So that kind of thing. And I like the analogy that you used of when you mentioned common sense. I don't know if common sense is still common, but that's a different philosophical discussion here. However, just going back to that is that I just thought of when you said, don't leave stuff that you don't need on your computer. If you don't need to save it there, then don't. So I'm just thinking, it's the same thing with a car. I don't leave my tax returns in my car.
No.
Even if it's locked. So yeah. If it doesn't have to be in the car, keep it somewhere more secure. So just those basic things that if you don't need it to be here, then don't do it. And then at the same time, just like what you mentioned, only use what we actually need. Just simple as that. If you absolutely need it, then fine. So again, the reason why we're doing this is that for people who are concerned of using technology and you're scared of it, hopefully this would help you gain the necessary thought processes so you would feel more comfortable in using technology. Because just going back to the car or crossing the street, as you've identified earlier, well, of course, with COVID-19, unless if you really have to go out. But before COVID-19, we're driving all over the place. And unfortunately, people get into accidents. So, but that's what you said. We practice, we walk defensively, meaning we pay attention to both sides of the streets, drive defensively. It's the same thing when using this specific technology, whether it's a computer, whether it's a cell phone, or whatever, any other device there. And going back to the IoT, I know it's you guys who coined that term. Cisco coined that term because when I was because I'm reviewing for an exam for Azure 900 for the cloud system, and the speaker was talking about the IoT, and they said that he learned it almost a decade ago from a Cisco event. And speaking of Cisco event, again, I really appreciated all the things that you guys did on that Cisco live event about 2 months ago now.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up with you, because I just blasted the question and people coordinated. And again, we're honored to have you here.
And that's, and that's partly why I've had such a hard decision, retiring from Cisco, because I've grown up building the internet, or, Cisco's been here a little over 25 years and basically built the internet. And so to be a part of that gives me a lot of pride. So, and Cisco is a great company, and I still have their stock, so don't not stop buying their stuff.
If there's one thing you can advertise, Cisco, it is. Go ahead.
Okay.
Whether you're retiring or not.
That's right. Hey, they said after my time is up, I could come back if I wanted to, so we'll see.
Okay. Wonderful. Before I wrap up some other things here, Nico or Ella, do you have any other questions or anything you want to share or say? None? We're good? Okay. And just going back to that, different passwords, it's the same thing. My key to my car is different from my key to my house, is different from my key to the mailbox. We should use that same concept when we're accessing all of these other systems. and so it's the same idea. And I don't leave my key lying around. So it's the same thing with their password. Don't leave it lying around. And yeah, one more thing that I'm guilty of is that because I'm working on a lot of things, and I don't want to shut it down and pull them back up again. So I guess even on sleep mode, it's not good, right? Better to shut it down, correct?
Well, sleep mode, you still need the password to get into it.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, if you're not using it, just shut it down. You know, it saves electricity.
True. And then the other thing that I'm not sure if I don't think you touch base on it, but for example, with all these smart devices with cameras on, even TVs, I mean, my TV is about 20 years old here.
Yeah.
So with cameras, it's the same thing, right? Make sure you have something to cover it, because it's so easy to just.
Yeah. If you're, you know, that you can do video calls now, and it's okay to do video calls as long as you know who you're talking. Hey, if your granddaughter or whatever calls you and it's a video call, accept it. You know, if you're not comfortable with video, like I've got a phone in my office, and my wife is so paranoid about it that every time I walk away, she covers it. She doesn't realize I got a little shutter I can close. So it's like,
Okay.
but yeah, if you're not comfortable, just turn that feature off. And again, all your smart devices are only as protected as your other smart devices. So make sure they have the right, don't leave the default passwords, if possible, segment them in your network so that, it's only on your personal network and not on, your public network. I know that's probably a little bit high, but yeah, if you're not comfortable, cover it. Don't use it,
Yeah. And then as we wrap up here, it's the same idea. If you are expecting something, the same thing. I'm not expecting anybody to knock on my door right now. If somebody knocks, I'll be a little bit extra vigilant. So it's the same thing if they send you an email or somebody's calling you. I'm not supposed to be expecting a call or an email from anybody else aside from the people that I absolutely know. Then just be a little bit cautious. And again, if people are asking you for X, Y, and Z for whatever reason, just don't. I mean, it doesn't have to. And again, if they really need to reach out to you, like what you said, you reach out to them. If it's a credit card number or a bank account or whatever, contact their business specifically. So again, if you don't mind, I'm just trying to remind myself as well of such things. So again, are the people that I have coordinated. Well, I guess we can talk offline on that. But again, we want to say thank you for doing this, because I know when we're talking to some of the people at CISCO, if this is something that we can do a little bit more frequently or just a one-time deal, we'll play it by ear. But nonetheless, we really appreciate your time and sharing all the good things that you've identified. And it's somebody credible, because if I shared what you have shared, who am I? But if it's a person who's been doing this for the past 25 years, hopefully people would listen and be more comfortable using technology. It's just same thing as we were comfortable driving cars and so on and so forth.
Yeah, all I have to do is protect the names of the innocent.
Yes.
They can still not have common sense. So most scenarios I probably used, I've seen happen. So.
And then maybe one last point here is, speaking of COVID-19, with that virus and the virus that we have online, it's the same thing. We have to be careful with that physical virus. We have to be careful as well with the software virus. But we have ways that we can protect ourselves.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. All right, Tom. Thank you again. Yes. And congratulations. So We'll touch base after this, okay?
Okay, sounds good. I've got a 2:30 I've got to run to, but
Okay.
maybe give me a shout tomorrow. How's that?
Yeah, we'll just contact, just email, and however.
Okay.
And again, thank you so much, and all the best.
Okay. You guys have a good one. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for watching, and I hope you found this video informational and educational. Please share our videos and subscribe to our channel. If not, my dad will not give me dessert.